Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans number 23. I'm Fred Green. Our episode today features the return of Dr. Joseph Parent, author of one of golf's most popular mental game books in history, Zen Golf. Well, in this conversation, Dr. Joe had just released his second book as a follow-up called Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game Around the Greens. This episode, as always with Dr. Joe, is full of insights and fabulous tips to help you lower the scores the fastest way possible by fine-tuning your mental game from tee to green. Golf Smarter Mulligans is supported by twoguyswithgolfballs.com, offering premium used golf balls at a fraction of the cost of new ones. If you've ever played golf, you've lost a golf ball. If you've ever opened a new sleeve of balls and hit the ball once, you've played with used golf balls. And if you've ever purchased golf balls, you've paid more than you need to. That's why I want to recommend twoguyswithgolfballs.com. They hand inspect and sanitize every single ball and then grade them in 3 different ways: par, birdie, and eagle. Eagle quality is as if you bought a brand new sleeve of balls but only paid half price for it. Well, can you do any better than that? I don't think so. That's why I want you to check out twoguyswithgolfballs.com. And when you're there, make sure that you use the coupon code GolfSmarter when you check out so you can get an additional 10% off of the order. Every time. Every order. I mean, most places, they'll lure you in with that 10% discount, and then you're stuck. You'll never get to do it again. But because you go through Golf Balls, you need that discount as well. So you get their normal discount and you get the Golf Smarter discount, 10% off, and that offer expires on April 1st, 2020. Mulligans is also brought to you by Autoslash.com. Autoslash is a rental car booking service that's going to save you so much money the next time you rent a car. And if you're renting it for business or for pleasure, it doesn't matter, because once you use Autoslash.com, you will find that you're going to save up to 30%, if not more, on your next car rental. So go ahead and book the car that you want and then head over to Autoslash.com. It's not an app. It's on your browser. And they're going to, once you register, they're going to search every possible location for car rentals to get you a better rate, because those rates change daily, sometimes hourly, and it's doing it in the background so that you don't know it. So most of the time you'll rent a car and then you're done. Well, you don't need to be, because you're going to be able to save money. And if you can save 30% on a $500 car rental for a week, think of what you can do to spend that money with your family, with your friends on the next round of golf. Check them out, please. Autoslash.com, because they're completely free and they're helpful. Bookmark it now on your browser and use it for your next car rental. Autoslash.com, AUTOSLASH, Autoslash.com. Welcome, Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Fred. Good to be back.
And it's really a joy to have you on multiple times, because your content is so phenomenal, and the book Zen Putting is really an excellent addendum to what you've done in the past. I'm not a person who generally reads books a second time, but being able to read Zen Putting has really allowed me to reaffirm the practices that I learned and became so dear to me in Zen Golf.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So it's nice to be able to look back and see things go, oh, I remember that. Boy, why haven't I continued to do that? Why do I stop?
I tried to carry over some of the themes in Zen Golf, present them in a different way so that people can access them again, but also in a fresh way, and focus more on putting as the particular area where the mental game is so critical. And when we get to putting, it really generates through our whole game, because, you know, if you, as I say in the introduction, you can recover from a poor drive with a good recovery shot or approach shot. You can recover from a poor approach shot with a good chip, but there's no recovery from a missed 4-foot putt.
Yeah. It's not, I don't know why I'm thinking it separates the men from the boys, but, it's really not correct, but in the way that has some relevance to it.
Well, it does make a difference if you watch the events, the PGA Tour events. Very often, they have all the stats now on there from the technology. I guess it's ShotLink, something like that. All the stats, and almost always you look at the leader coming down the stretch on the back nine on Sunday, and they start giving you the stats on how few putts inside 5 feet they've missed all week. And that makes a huge difference.
It's astounding to be able to see those kind of numbers on the PGA Tour.
Now, I got another really interesting one for you, and that is we put so much pressure on ourselves on longer putts that isn't realistic. In one of the chapters, Lower Your Standards in Zen Putting, I asked people to guess what the answer to this question. Tiger Woods won a tournament in a playoff, but he got into the playoff, and how many putts longer than 10 feet did he make in the last 2 rounds, Saturday and Sunday, before the playoff?
I would have to guess it would be in the 80 to 90 percentile.
0. He made none of them. The last putt longer than 10 feet that he made was on the 15th hole in the second round on Friday. Saturday and Sunday, no putts longer than 10 feet. How many did he convert under 8 feet? All of them.
Wow.
That was the difference. So making those putts, but not having the expectation that you need to make the longer ones. Yeah, if you do, that's gravy. But the further away you get from the hole, Dave Peltz did a lot of studies on this, the further the away you get from the hole, the lower the odds are dramatically of holing the putt.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that doesn't mean you can't make the putt. Remember our definitions, Fred, from last time?
Yes.
What's the definition of making a putt?
Is doing what you wanted to, accomplishing what you set out to do in your stroke and in connecting with the ball.
That's right. When you put the roll and the stroke that you want on that putt, on the path that you intend, at the pace you intend. In other words, the stroke you intend, the path you intend, and the pace you intend, you made your putt. The ball going in the hole we call holing the putt.
Correct.
You can make every putt. You won't necessarily hole every putt, but you can definitely make every putt. And that's what you want to base your confidence on. How many putts you make, the quality of your execution, rather than the results.
Let's talk about confidence.
Okay.
I mean, one of the things, I really want to do some more drills today, but let's talk about confidence today and how that can not only affect your entire golf game, but really your performance on the green for any given day.
On the green, on the fairways, in all of golf, and then beyond that, in your work and in your life. Confidence is the most important thing because it means believing in yourself. You know, one of the pros that I talked with, Scott McCarran, was doing a little talk, and he was explaining to people, he said, the people who graduated in his Q school class, in other words, the people who made it through that qualifying tournament and got their cards 10 years ago, of all of them, he was the only one who kept his card every year for those whole 10 years. And he said, what would distinguish him? He wasn't the longest hitter. He wasn't the most accurate iron player. He wasn't even the best putter. The thing that separated him from all of them was he believed that he belonged. He believed that that's where he belonged on the PGA Tour. It's that kind of unconditional confidence, not based on how you played last week, but based on your belief in your abilities and that you can accomplish what you set out to do. That is what sustained him on the tour.
What professionals have you worked with that we would know on the PGA Tour?
You'd know Vijay Singh.
Yes, we do know that name.
David Toms.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Kelly, who had a lot of fun and a good run at this year's Masters. Tim Petrovic, who won in New Orleans. There was an article about him as the pizza man for years on the mini tour, he delivered pizzas to make ends meet, and finally got his card after years. I think he was 36 years old when he finally got his tour card. You know, there's a lot of old rookies on the tour now because they just keep at it. And when the game comes around at Q school time, you get your PGA Tour card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me how you feel about what Tiger Woods, not that what he's been able to accomplish, but his approach to the game, and obviously his upbringing, his background, and how you see that as being the perfect, not coincidence, but I mean how it coincides with your teachings.
Well, I quote Tiger in my introduction to Zen Putting, and I'll read it for you. He said in a television interview, "My mother's a Buddhist. In Buddhism, if you want to achieve enlightenment, you have to do it through meditation and self-improvement through the mind. That's something she's passed on to me, to be able to calm myself down and use my mind as my main asset." If you think about all the assets that gentleman has, the swing ability, the physical technique, the physical strength, the touch around the greens, the imagination in hitting recovery shots, and he's saying his mind is his main asset. I think that tells you how he feels about it.
Yeah.
And his mom is a Buddhist, and that's where a lot of his training in both discipline and meditation came from, and working with his mind. And another part of his training came from his dad, who's military and Green Beret. So he's...
There's where you're disciplined, too.
A lot of discipline there. And what's really scary is the most talented guy is also one of the hardest workers.
And isn't that what it's all about?
Oh, my gosh. So you want to say, well, can I outwork the guy? I'm not sure I can outwork him, and he's starting with more talent than me. That puts me in a bit of a hole. So there's an intimidation factor before they even step on the tee because of his preparation, because of how he works with his body, how he works with his mind. You know, after a round, he was talking about this when he struggled at Bay Hill. He happened to win the next week because after the round, he went and analyzed his game. And he did it not from a point of getting down on himself, but saying, objectively, what did I do that I could do differently? And he said very prominently he made a lot of mental mistakes that week. And it was his mental game that let him down, and he needed to refocus, get better at his strategy, at his tactics, at his risk-reward selection. And that's what he did, and he won the next week at Doral.
In talking about focus, it's not always an easy thing to do when you're walking through a golf course. Can take 4 to 4.5, and weekend golf could even take you 5 to 5.5 hours. And it's quite easy to lose your focus, whether it be blood sugar or frustration. Do you have any drills or advice for us?
Well, sure. You know, it brings to mind, I was walking with Jack Nicklaus, watching one of his sons at Q School one year, and I asked him about it and said, you know, what do you think about sustaining focus for 4 to 5 hours during a round of golf? And I kind of knew the answer, but I really wanted to hear it from Jack. But he said it in a way that was very profound. He said, not only isn't it productive, it's boring. Now, this is from somebody who could do it if he wanted to.
Now, when you say it...
Keep your focus on golf for 4 to 5 hours.
Right.
And he said, no, you don't do it. You let it go, but then as it's time for the shot, then you bring it in again. Now, this brings up routine. And we need a mental routine as well as a physical routine. And our physical routine starts at a certain place. Our mental routine needs to start when we start planning the shot. And at that point, we keep our focus through the planning, the visualizing, the preparation as far as our programming swing, the setting up, and if it's a putt, the reading the putt, getting a feel for the pace, setting up, and stroking it. And really, that's not that long, maybe a minute in total. Ideally, it's less if you've done some preparation while other people were putting, because we want the game to move along. But I'm talking about on the long end, that it's that. And then you let it go. And breathing is very, very important. Breathing before and after the shot. You breathe before to settle yourself and feel the ground, feel connected to the earth. Feel grounded and out of your head and into your body and letting your body execute the swing, whether it's a putter or a driver. After the shot, you need to let go of the results. Take a clearing breath. Settle yourself. And then take time to look around. Check out the scenery. Relax. Take a few, walk over to the next tee. And then when you get to the next tee, start your mental routine for your preparation for the next shot.
You familiar with Glenn Albaugh?
Glenn's a good friend of mine.
I figured as much. Wonderful, wonderful man. Loved the conversation with him, loved meeting with him. I really enjoyed his efforts in his book about the post-shot routine.
I have a chapter called the post-shot routine in Zen Golf as well. Mm-hmm. And in Zen Putting, let's talk about post-shot routine in putting.
Please.
Okay. In post-shot routine, I like to be what's called an objective detective. And that is, now, if you've made your putt and hold your putt, you get the rewards, and I want you to reinforce your process. And you say, now that's how I always putt. When I'm focused, at ease, trust my read, trust my pace, trust my stroke. Okay? That's going to reinforce it. You say that to yourself. If you made your putt, if you executed the way you intended, but it didn't go in, then you become the objective detective. You don't get upset. You ask questions. You say, what didn't I see about the read that was there, about the break that was there? What did I see that wasn't there? Look around at the lay of the land. Look around at the contours of the green and learn. And next time you'll be putting better. You'll read the greens better. Now, if you didn't make the putt, in other words, something didn't come out the way you intended in your stroke, your path, or your pace, then you want to say, what got in my way? What was lacking in my commitment to how I stroked the putt, to the direction I wanted it to start in, to the pace that I chose? And almost all the time, something about fear and doubt, possibly hope and trying too hard, one of those will have gotten in the way of you trusting your stroke.
After our last conversation, I was reviewing Zen Putting once again and came across in the exercise section, the index of exercises, you have path versus line. And I remembered that in the last conversation, you said, I want to talk about path versus line. We'll get to that in a minute. And we never did.
That's right. We didn't get to that in the last conversation.
So I'm really glad that you're back so that we can do that.
Okay.
Tell me.
All right. According to geometry, I'm going to test your high school math. How wide is a line?
I didn't do high school math.
A line, shall I answer it for you?
Oh, please.
A line has no width.
Okay.
It's as narrow can be. It's not something you could actually stay on. That's why, for sobriety tests, they have you walk a line. Now, a path is wide. And anywhere on the 4-inch width of the hole, the ball can go in. So you really have a path, a 4-inch wide path that you're putting down. If the putt's going slowly, it can use that whole 4 inches and still fall in. A little faster, it'll lip out at the edges, but you still have at least a 3-inch wide path that the ball can roll down. When you think of a path, you don't have to be so perfect. A line, you have to be perfect. It's very easy to go off a line, but you have a lot of room it can roll on a path without going off the path. So it puts a sense of ease into the golfer when they think, roll it down the path instead of keep it on the line.
Why is it that some days that 4-inch hole looks like it's a half an inch wide, and some days it looks like it's 12 inches wide? And how do we make it more often so it feels like that hole is 12 inches?
Well, sometimes it only feels an inch wide.
Or less.
You say it's covered with cellophane, that there isn't a hole there.
and then there's that too.
And the only determinant, since physically the size of the hole doesn't change, the only determinant is confidence. If you feel confident, it looks huge.
Yeah.
If you feel unconfident, if you're afraid of missing, then you see, if it's confident, you see all these different possible ways the putt can go in the hole. And if you lack confidence, you see all the different places it can miss.
Is that what you mean by panoramic awareness?
Panoramic awareness is something else. Panoramic awareness is a sense of presence and a sense of inclusion of everything that you're experiencing. And I would talk about that both as a diminishing of hope and fear, because you're in a bigger state of mind, a bigger space, and don't get caught up by petty concerns. But it's also something that you could talk about when you're looking at reading a green. You have panoramic awareness of the whole landscape, and you include all that into your insight, into reading it, so you don't get caught with tunnel vision.
I'm just going to toss out topics and let you do a run on it here.
Well, why don't we get to some drills?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at here. And I pour, trickle, and pop.
Pour, trickle, and pop. Well, quite often we get to a putt, we've been dyeing them in or trickling them in all day long, and we get to a tricky little 3-footer that looks like it has a little bit of break, and we said, I'm going to take some of the break out. And all of a sudden we jab at it because we haven't really practiced putting in a way that the ball is going to putt and go pop into the back of the hole. So what I want you to practice is take 4, 5, 6-foot putts, and you can practice this a little bit longer, but basically anywhere from 4 to 8-foot putts, and roll 3 in a row, one that just trickles over the front edge, one that pours into the middle, and one that pops against the back wall of the cup. And do them in random order so that you get good at changing the size of stroke that you're making a subtle change in the size of stroke to make the ball enter those 3 different ways. Now, you can also do this on a side hill, a sloping area of the practice green, and just see how different the break is when you play the putt to pop firmly in the back, pour into the middle, or just trickle into the side.
Yeah. I've always liked that drill.
Well, the whole point is reading putts is not just direction. It's speed, it's pace. You can't read a putt without including the factor of pace, of how fast it'll be going along the course of the putt and as it goes in the hole. You know what? I have a real good illustration of that.
Please.
Okay. Pros get pretty used to the pace of greens out on the tour, and they're usually 10.5 or 11 on the stimp meter. When they get to the Masters, and they're 12.5 or 13, and very often they putt the ball through the break. Mm-hmm. The greens are so fast that the ball doesn't take the break as it's not slowing down as fast as they think it's going to, and they've missed a lot of them on the high side.
That was scary to see some of the putts that they were making where they were barely touching the ball. I mean, it was as if they were breathing on the ball.
That's right.
And it flew down.
That's right.
Past the hole.
Mm-hmm. And they were reading it for some break, but it broke even less because the greens were so good and so fast that it just didn't take the breaks that they were expecting it to.
Right.
It curled right around the hole.
I don't know. Have you ever played there? Have you ever played at Augusta
National? I have
not yet. That scares me. I mean, it's like, I'll watch it on TV, but I don't think
at the U.S. Open at Oakland Hills, it's supposed to be even faster.
Oh, man.
And they pride themselves and say, we slow it down for the Open.
Yeah.
Right.
Next drill, changing habits. I think that's really important for everybody because bad habits are easy to maintain.
Well, let's say one of your habits is leaving putts short, and that's a very common one for people. The changing habits technique that I use, I present in Zen Golf in a chapter called Pebbles in the Bowl. And the key points of that are intention and non-judgmental awareness. That you combine your intention, and in this case the intention would be to have putts get to the hole or a couple feet past, up to a couple feet past, rather than short. And the non-judgmental awareness means without judging yourself, without condemning yourself for leaving putts short, you simply notice and you make a mark down. Maybe you put an S down on your scorecard for every putt that you leave short. And you put a check mark for every one that gets to the hole or up to 2 or 2.5 feet past. And you can put a little L if you hit it way by there. But basically, you're trying to reduce the number of S's on the card. Now, you don't try to do that. You simply have that intention, and you decide you're going to notice and mark down when you leave them short. Interestingly, our subconscious knows that we are accountable now and are going to have to mark it down. And there's something about it that your body intuitively or subconsciously will let your arms make a little bit bigger swing than you did before. And you'll be surprised how quickly you can change that. I was able to use that technique. I used to leave a lot of approach shots short, which is very common for amateur golfers, to not take enough club and leave their approach shots short. So I marked it, and I was able to switch in a matter of 3 or 4 rounds from leaving 14 out of 16 approach shots short, and then there were a couple that were just chip-ons. But for full swing shots, 14 out of 16 short, and flip it around and only leave 2 out of 16 short, only 4 or 5 rounds later. So it's a very effective technique.
Yeah, I would think that it would be. I know that personally in the last year I've given myself the opportunity to diet, which is something that was new for me, but I've been taking a year to do this instead of trying to rush to lose weight. And I've noticed that for me, weighing myself every morning has made it effective. So it's like, oh boy, this week I lost a half a pound.
But you don't judge yourself if you don't. You just know that you're going to be weighing yourself, and it affects your behavior, doesn't it?
But it's like a scorecard that I'm able to watch and go, okay, I'm making progress, and I don't want to make a lot of progress rapidly. I just want to make some progress, and that's helped. So I can see how that would help on keeping those notes on your scorecard.
That's exactly right.
Excellent. We talked about a second ago, you mentioned distance versus direction. Now, I've always believed and advocated that distance was far more important. Well, not far more, but it's initially more important. Distance would be initially more important than direction.
Well, for long putts, that's generally the case. Because, if you have a 60-foot putt, it's quite conceivable that you would leave it 10 feet short or 10 feet long, but on a relatively straight one, you're not going to leave it 10 feet to the right or 10 feet to the left unless you drastically misread it. So for longer putts, definitely pace is a factor. But for breaking putts, they are an inextricable combination. You can't have one without the other. If you say, how much is this going to break? Your caddy cannot answer that without asking you first how fast you want it to be going when it gets to the hole. So if you have a caddy, if you're playing a private course, you have a caddy, and you are lining up a breaking putt, what you want to say is, I'd like this one to be dying in when it gets to the hole. How high do I need to play it? That they can answer. If you say, the greens are a little slow, I want it to be going with some pace when it gets there, how much break should I play? That they can answer.
Right. If I didn't try, then I won't fail.
Well, now, this isn't one of the drills.
No, it's not. But
it is one of the chapters, and it's a self-defense mechanism that protects our ego.
And I think that's a really important aspect.
Yeah, people, the tradition of gimmies protects us that way.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. As soon as you say, that one's a little tricky, I think you're going to have to putt that one, people get a little red in the face because, and sometimes they use the mechanism of just walking up to that putt before they have to be faced with whether somebody's going to give it to them or not. And they'll walk up, reach with one hand, and kind of swat at it with the putter. And if they miss, they say, "That was good, right? You were going to give me that, weren't you?" And if somebody says no, then they go, "Oh, well, then I'll pay attention this time," and they take it back and putt it. And if it goes in, they count it. So either way, they get out of it. They get out of the anxiety of having to be forced to do that putt. Mm-hmm. So it's really just ego protection. And what I did to counter that with some of my students is I instructed them to always mark 3-foot putts so that they would be the last one putting and could feel the pressure of people standing in the fairway waiting for them to finish, or being the last one in the group to putt and having to look at that putt while everybody else did, and toughen themselves up and get more mental toughness that way.
Shouldn't you want to be the last guy to putt?
You can train yourself that way.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be the last guy to putt. I want to, if we're all a certain distance from the hole, I want to hole my 10-footer.
Yeah, okay.
so the other guy has to tap in his leg putt.
Exactly. The website is zengolf.com, and the new book by Dr. Joe Parent is Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens. And that's green with 2 E's. And, of course... as
opposed to Fred Green.
Exactly.
Golf Smarter, I got it.
Sorry. You should definitely, read this book. You should definitely get Zen Golf. It should be part of your library, your golf library, that you prominently display, because people will look at it and go, "Oh, I read this and loved it."
Well, thank you, Fred. I'm very excited about them being now 2 companion volumes of Zen Golf, Mastering the Mental Game, and Zen Putting, Mastering the Mental Game on the Greens. And I think that it's a great complementary book to my first book. Brings in a lot of new things and continues and expands on some of the themes that I present in Zen Golf. So I think people will enjoy it. And you got to remember my favorite saying, that people think if they played better or putted better, they'd enjoy it more, but it actually goes the other way around. If you'd enjoy it more, you'd play and putt better.